There we go. I got some audio. It's not coming from my microphone, which is really weird. So give me a second, friends. Let's see if we can. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. We should be able to hear it now. There we go. All right. Okay, cool. There we go. Oh my god, I have to go through that whole thing. The whole beginning audio, man. I have to cut that out. Dang it. All right, everybody. I guess I'll have to edit that for the VOD. I mean, yeah, I have to do some video editing. So, sorry, everybody. There we go, friends. I'm sorry about that. Man, audio hates me today, everybody. It's awful. So, Google, you absolutely hate me. OBS, curse you. So, all right, there we go. I don't know, man. It's crazy. I don't know. I hates it, man. So Google hates me. So, everybody, I guess I'll go over parts. So today, what we're doing an Alps build today. So we're working with a Geon Works Frog TKL 8K. So what an 8K TKL is, you normally see you kind of have that blocker around separating the aero cluster from the actual home cluster. That is eliminated. So this is kind of a throwback to older keyboards from like the 1980s and 1990s. So as we build the board and kind of install the keys and the keycaps, you're going to kind of see what the heck we're going to do. But this is going to be kind of a really unique looking modern board. So I've been really looking for an 8K TKL. I really wanted to do a Geon one. One of the board, so Geon really only has two options for 8Ks. You can go the F1 8X Snow Edition, which personally there's some design aesthetics on the board I personally do not like. And there are also it's not a board, and it's actually really kind of hard to find, so I was just like, I don't really like it. So when I saw that Geon had a Frog 8K, I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to pick that up. So this is a personal build, so this is part of my personal collection. Now, the plate is going to come courtesy of Tom over at Hype Keyboard. So the plate design was created by Carolus over at Carolingian.com, so huge shout out to Carolus. He's a really good friend of the channel. And then the plate was cut and manufactured by Tom over at Hype Keyboards over in Canada. So so whenever you see an Alps plate, it's going to be designed by Carolus and made by Tom over at Hype Keyboards. The other part that's going to be kind of the heart of this build is going to be my PCB. This is an Alps TKL PCB in the H87, H88 pattern made by Carolus over at Carolingian. So another shout out to Carolus. This is actually one of his prototype PCBs. Carolus has a production run of TKL Alps PCBs in stock right now. They're actually white. This is from his prototyping phase. So he had a series of prototype PCBs. So I actually have one of his prototype PCBs in my F1 8X build and also my F1 722 build. So my Frog 8K is also going to get one of these special prototype PCBs. Most of Carolus's production TKL PCBs are going to be white. So just kind of a cool internal detail for the board. So it's a 1.6 millimeter and it supports like every stinking layout you can imagine. I'm not going to go through every single layout this actual PCB supports because it's just absolutely insane. So everything you could ever want, this PCB supports. So especially with like 8K, which is we're going to be doing a very unusual layout today. So we're also going to be going with Tactile keycaps today. So we're going to be going with a set of Tactile white on black keycaps today. So nice kind of classic set right here, folks. So we're going again nice white on black from Tactile. So it's gonna the black is gonna go really nice with the silver of the 8K. So we're going for a nice kind of black and silver color aesthetic for today. With those parts, and then of course, since we are using Tactile, we're using Alps pattern stabilizers. So with Alps, Alps have their own plate-mounted stabilizer pattern. So if you're going to use original Alps pattern keycaps, or if you're going to use Tactile keycaps, you're using original. The only time you use Cherry MX stabilizers are if you're going to be using DCS keycaps from Signature Plastics. There's six Signature Plastics DCS keycap sets. If you want to do an Alps build, DCS sets are fantastic. Just be prepared to pay a premium. And outside of DCS 9009 at the moment of filming, that's the only one that's in stock. If you want to try and if you don't like DCS 909 and you want one of the other 5 sets, good luck finding them. They're very difficult. I have 4 of the 6 DCS Alps sets, and I'm never selling them because they're a massive pain in the butt to find and they're very expensive. So we're going to put those to the side and we're going to open up the case. And the other thing too is we're going to be using a set of our switches today are going to be Alps SKCM Ivory tactiles, and these are dampened tactile switches. What makes these really cool, Alps are a really loud switch, regardless of what Alps model you go with. Like whether you're going blue clicky Alps, you're going black Alps, orange Alps, green Alps, whatever the heck you go. They're loud. Like Alps are a very, very loud switch. So during Alps production, they made 2 switches that were called dampened tactiles. Essentially what they did on the white on the slider, which is like the colored part, they put these two little rubber pieces on the side of the slider to soften the downstroke and also the upstroke. So that makes the switch a little bit quieter. Now, they're not as quiet as like silent Cherry MX switches, because like current silent switches from the Cherry MX offerings are really, really good. Silent switches have gotten great over the past 2 years, but these are definitely quieter than most of your kind of mainline Alps switches. And these are probably some of your more affordable Alps switches as well, because they were probably the most common Alps switches. Now, I kind of have 2 batches of these. These are ones I was going to do. So, I actually had a silver frog TKL that was in my personal collection. I basically cannibalized it for a client build about a month and a half ago. But I took my switches out. Now these switches right here, these ivory switches are really special. So these switches have a story. So I'm an alumni of the University of Southern California, right here in Los Angeles, and I've been pretty active with their keyboard club. It's run by the students, and it's a really nice group of students, primarily students who are in like engineering, computer science, and throughout the year they will host like miniature keyboard meetups. And I went to one of their meetups back in April, and the students actually gifted me some Alps boards, and that's actually what got me into Alps. Believe it or not, I've only been into Alps for like 4 or 5 months at this point. But they gifted me 3 Alps keyboards that were saved from the e-waste bin over at the engineering school. So they gave me a board that had salmon Alps, black Alps, and then these white ivory Alps. So what I did is I harvested the switches, and I basically taught myself how to harvest Alps and work on Alps and like work with these boards. And I essentially wanted to put these 3 switch sets in modern keyboards. So I initially put these in my first Geon works because it's really cool, because these switches were in a keyboard that was in circulation at the University of Southern California in probably the 1980s, 1990s, maybe early 2000s. So it was either in like the school library, a computer lab, a professor's office, or heck, it was maybe even in like a student's dormitory. But it was really kind of cool thinking what these switches were doing at the university. So these switches are just really special, and they're going to go in this particular keyboard. I like just the story of these switches. Now, these are very common switches. These are probably one of the more affordable Alps switches you can get. But these are just really sentimental for me because they were a gift from a group of students from the university I'm very passionate about. And they have a really cool story. And then my Frog Mini right here, just my standard Frog Mini, these have the Salmon Alps that I was given. So these were the Salmon Alps from a keyboard that was saved from the University of Southern California. And then my other board that I harvested from that USC meet is my AIO3 Polaris with Black Alps. So all 3 of these boards have really of my personal Alps collection, the boards I have in my collection, these 3 are the most special and most sentimental for me because of the switches that are in them. The switches in all 3 of these boards came from 3 keyboards that were in circulation at the University of Southern California for a long number of years. And the students in the USD Keyboard Club saved those from the e-waste bin and just ultimately being destroyed and lost forever. So that's a really cool story. So that's like kind of like my story time. I wanted to just kind of tell the story of these particular switches, and they're really, really cool. So that's what we're going to do. So the first step is we're going to disassemble the case and extract the plate. And then we'll start. We'll kind of start with the stabilizer. So that's kind of our big thing. So we're just gonna put the little rubber feet. Thank you, Geon, for making your feet so freaking easy. Let me get my screwdriver out, and I'm a klutz today, everybody. Look at that. Sorry about that. Hey, it's plastic. I mean, plastic on metal. We're good. So it's a really good time. So I really enjoy working with these boards. Like the Geon Frog, I've done a ton of builds in the Geon Frog, especially for client builds. I think if you want to do like a 60% or a TKL, my number one suggestion is like a Frog, a Geon Frog. Like the Geon Frog TKL is a very affordable TKL. You can get it used on Mech Market for like $150, $175. If you really want a brand new one, you can get them right now in stock from Geon in South Korea for like, I think like $250 plus shipping. So not too bad. And what's nice about the Frog kit is you can get it bare bones with no PCB and no plate. Because if you're going to do an Alps build in it, like you're just going to put the Cherry MX PCB and plate to the side. So these are great candidates. And same thing with for like a 60%. Any of the Frog Minis are fantastic. Like I have all 3 Frog Minis. I have a Frog Mini, for the standard Frog Mini, I have the Frog Mini Passante, which is insane. And I also have the Frog Mini Ligera, which we're going to build on stream tomorrow at 7 a.m. So we're kind of doing back-to-back streams to this afternoon and then like early tomorrow morning. So any of my friends who are in other parts of the world, please tune in, everybody. It'll be a lot of fun. And then of course the VOD of this stream will be up on YouTube a little later today for anyone to watch. So that's going to be pretty good. So that's just really nice. So we're getting this going. So we're doing the 6 screws. This is just a really nice board to work with. So this is part of my personal collection. So I'm really happy to be able to finally do a personal build again. So let me remove my case, and we'll just kind of go over the case really quick. So this is really just, build quality is really good. Again, the Frogs boards are more on like the more budget end of like Geon, but you still get like top quality, like Geon quality control and just Geon industrial design, which is really nice. So a really, really nice board. So we're gonna put the bottom case to the side, and then again, we'll pull out this plate that was made by Tom over at Hype. So we'll put those 2 pieces to the side, and then we'll also remove these little tadpoles. That's kind of the mounting mechanism for this particular board. So it's kind of like a modified top mount. So really good. But yeah, so then tomorrow, I'm excited for the Frog Mini build we're doing tomorrow. That's going to be a really cool build. We're going to do that one with green linear Alps and Apple keycaps from an original Macintosh. So it's going to be really, really sick. So it's gonna be a fun build, and I'll kind of show you a couple other things that kind of came in today. I've been doing a lot of switch harvesting just to kind of build up my switch inventory recently. I also have some other client builds coming up, but I got these. Sometimes I like go on eBay and I just like, if I see a good deal on something, I'm gonna get it, because like as I've gotten more advanced in Alps, like I can get some good deals and stuff, because most people have no idea what they have. So this is something I got off of eBay. This thing is absolutely collapsed. Like, this thing was in horrifying condition, but I got it for this. The money is where these switches are. So I got this unit from an Apple IIc from the early 80s for like $100. And I was scrolling eBay and I got a notification that one of these was posted. And normally these things go for like $300+. So when I saw it for $100, I'm like, that person has no idea what they have, because these switches, I could restore them and sell them for like $3-4 a switch. These are really, really expensive. So the fact I got this whole unit for $100 is really, really good. So, it's going to be filthy. Again, I don't care about the PCB. The money is in the switches. I'm really good at restoring the switches. And these are just going to be part of my personal switch inventory. These are Amber Alps. And Amber Alps are a clicky Alp switch. So they're a clicky Alp switch, and they're a really, really cool switch. One of my personal favorites. I have them in my JO2, but they're really expensive because you only can get them in this specific Apple II, and they only use a 60%. So if you want to do like a TKL or full size, you got to buy 2 or 3 units, which is pretty crazy. So these are really, really expensive. So when you see these in builds, most people are only doing 60%. You're kind of flexing if you see someone build a TKL or full size with like Amber Alps, because yeah, that's a lot of freaking money. So, it's filthy. And then the other board I got in, I actually just got this board for. I'm gonna harvest them later tonight off stream. But this was an internal assembly for an FK 2001. Really, I like the FK 2001 because it has my favorite Alps keycaps from an original board that aren't a lot of money. Like, you can get an FK 2001 for like $50 to $75 on eBay, and the keycaps are really good. They're double shot ABS. Double shot PBT, and so they don't yellow over time, which is really nice. So the keycaps are really nice. So these are white Alps, really nice clicky Alps. I'm doing a client build with these. I have a metric crap load of these, but I bought it for the keycaps and I bought it for the switch plates. So the switch plates are the parts that have the pins poke through. One of the things I've been noticing, especially with like green Alps, the switch plates, I've been having a high failure rate when I restore switches. It's just because that part, there's parts in those switch plates that can corrode. So I literally just bought this, not for the switches, but for the switch plates. So I bought this literally just for the keycaps and the parts. So these switches aren't really going to get restored. I'm literally just going to extract the switch plates from this, because that's really what I need. Because like, especially with green Alps, I've been having a ridiculously high failure rate at the switch plates. It's annoying. So that's why I really am trying not to do a lot of green Alps builds lately. Like, the build we'll do on stream tomorrow will have green Alps, but I mean, if a client asks for green Alps, I'm probably going to have to start charging a little bit more for green Alps, because it's ridiculous, the failure rate I'm getting on green Alps. It's really frustrating. Like, I'll probably, like, for a batch of like 80 green Alps, I'll probably have 20 dead switch plates. It's really bad. So, and I think it's because green Alps are one of the older Alp switches. So like with these switches, these are from like the late 80s and 90s. So like these are a much more recent switch, but Green Alps are from like the late 70s and early 80s. So it's just they're just much older switches. So that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna lube. So we're gonna actually start lubing switches, and then we'll kind of go from there. So as you can see, we're going 8K frog today. So we're gonna fill this entire cluster over here. It's gonna be really, really cool. So before we do that, we have to. We're doing step caps lock today, so I got to break off that part and file that part down. So let me put my PCB to the side and let's break that off. So there we go, friends. Let's get the pliers. Let's pull this little guard thing off. There we go. All right, let me get my other pliers and we're gonna pull this up. But yeah, so that Amber Alps was definitely a score. Like I was so stoked when I got that. I wasn't expecting to buy more Amber Alps. I mean, I have like 70 Amber Alps in my like switch hoard. But like when I saw that, I'm like, I'm not expecting to buy one, but screw it. It's such a good deal. Like, because that person had no idea what they had. That's another thing too with Alps. Like I used to, when I got into Alps a few like 2-3 months ago, when I was looking for boards to harvest, I would look based on like the switch I wanted. And I realized if you see an eBay listing with an Alp for Alps and you're looking for like orange Alps or green Alps, if they know what switch is in the board, the person probably knows what they have. But if you know what boards to look for, like what serial number ranges and what specific models to look for, you can find really good Alps switches and really good Alps boards for not a lot of money, because most people, to them, it's just e-waste that they want to get rid of. So that's one thing that's like really kind of cool. So we're just kind of pulling off this little blocker so we can have step caps lock on this. And I think we're going to do a big ass enter. I don't know. I think because we're going to have the 8K cluster here, we're going to have step caps, and I'm really feeling like a big ass enter. I haven't done a Tactile board with a big ass enter. And some of my boards are coming up. I'm definitely adding big ass enters to. So like my Frog Mini Passante is getting a big ass enter. So definitely gonna have fun with that. Okay, I gotta pull that off. Perfect. Let's just pulling those off. But yeah, so yeah, those Amber Alps, probably gonna restore them eventually, and probably if I have another rich, I don't know, just a rich person reach out to me and say like, hey, I want Amber Alps. I'm like, okay, cool. That'll be $300 for switches, please. Like, and that would be like a 60%. Like, if I realistically, if someone asked me for like a TKL with Amber Alps, I would probably realistically have to charge them like $400 for switches, and that's not me making a lot of not me making a decent markup on them. Like, that's actually pretty fair for Amber Alps, because again, they're expensive. So I got really lucky finding that listing. So, all right, let's see, we got that one, perfect, awesome. So let's start filing these puppies down. There we go, friends. All right, we gotta. Let's see if I can get a little bit more off of that. Give me a second, friends. I'm just pulling off these tabs. Oh, there we go. That's a lot better. Okay, we're going to do that. Yeah, we just got to pull off these tabs, then we got to file them down just so we can... That's good enough. All right, cool. All right. That's another thing with Alps, too. I kind of tell people, especially with, like, filing stuff. Like, there's very much a lot of stuff that's, like, hand-fitted. Like, if you're ever familiar with stuff that's, like, made by hand, like, this is very much... Every build is different. Even though I built a ton of frogs, every frog build, every Alps build is different. Like, no two Alps builds are really alike. I have to do several different things to the switches or other aspects of the board. So it's very much every board I do for Alps definitely is like a one-of-one. For sure. I mean, I have one client built on my Cerakote guy right now, and it's gonna be amazing when we get it back. Like, I cannot wait to build that build. We got the plate in from Tom the other day for it, so it's a JO2. So like I mean, we're gonna take our time on stream today. This is gonna be a fun one. But like, here's my like custom Cerakote JO2. Like, this is a one-of-one. This is the only JO2 like this in the world. Like, the JO2 we did for this client, I had a CNC guy cut off the wing key blockers because we're gonna put Apple keycaps on it, and we got it custom Cerakoted. And we're doing blue Alps in it, which is gonna be so sick. Like, oh, choice. So also, blue Alps are kind of expensive too. So like, which is like my favorite Alp switch. So, all right, we're just going to file down this part. All right, coming down. So, yeah, there's a lot of hand fitting in this stuff that goes into it. So, but yeah, a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely getting fun. And then we have Keeb Life in a couple of weeks, folks. So, I definitely would love to see some folks at Keeb Life. And again, like, if you're going to Keeb Life here in Los Angeles, September 6th, please come say hi to me. I'm probably going to take up one of the tables over just kind of in the community area, and just I'm probably going to bring like a dozen Alps boards. So it'll be a good selection from like all the way to like Amber and Blue Alps and all the way down to like more affordable Alps, like black Alps and like these white Alps, which will be super sick. So we're gonna have, it'll be fun talking to people and educating people about a really cool switch. And I will be the Alps guy when I go to Key Life, because I'm not bringing any Cherry MX stuff. So I just kind of made a decision. I mean, like, I have so much cool Cherry MX stuff, like, but I want to show off Alps. So because everyone else is gonna have Cherry MX, even though I have some boards. Probably if I were to bring them, I'd probably be the only one with them. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna have 6 stabilized keycaps on this board today. So instead of 5, because we're gonna have we have a 2U key that's gonna go right here on the 8K module. So let's put those in and let's get those all spaced about. So we're gonna get these ones in. Now these switches before too, these were in a build previously, so I know they work. So soldering should be relatively painless today, hopefully. We're gonna see. But we will see, everybody. So let's just. But we got some switches. We got a bunch. We got 6 stabs. We got to lube today. So that's looking good. So let's get that in there, and there we go. So we got 6 stabilized keycaps right there. So let's put those in. Let's move those. So really good time. So let's just just make sure everything lines up really quick and looking good. And that looks pretty good by my standards, so I think we're good. So we're going to move the PCB to the side, and we're going to focus on lubrication right now. So looking good. Let's push this into my foam and just kind of hold those down, and there we go. So let's get my stabilized keycaps out of my Tactile box, and I think we're going to go big-ass enter today. I figured just why not, like, for this one. Because I love the big-ass enter. I mean, if you don't know what a big-ass enter is, I will show y'all what a big-ass enter is. It is like one of the coolest keycaps ever. So that's your enter. So I'm going to pull up my stabilized caps, and then I'll kind of show y'all what we're going to do. So we got those. Okay, we want our set. We're going with our 0 over here. Then we want to get our caps lock. Give me a second. I got to figure out which caps lock I'm going with. That one. Cool. And then let me get out my 7U space bar. And I got this set from Careless, which was awesome. So I'll kind of break down what a big ass enter is. So this is your standard enter. This is your big ass enter, and here's your standard ANSI enter. So essentially what the big ass enter does is it takes that slash that's normally above the enter and combines it into one key. So it's just a really cool switch. So I mean, a really cool keycap. So it's very much a vibe. I have it on my I have a bunch of the GMK big ass enter kits. So if I can put a big ass enter on a board, I'm definitely gonna do it. So I have some Alps boards that were lacking big ass enters, and they're definitely gonna get some big ass enters. So that's looking good. So let's put that away, and I think we're good. We're good to start up. So let me just put my keycaps away, and I think we're gonna be good with that for right now. Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's get those going. So we got our 6 stabilized keys, and also caps lock, because it's always fun figuring out where caps lock goes. So I think my caps lock, it's going. Yeah, I'll figure it out later. Deal with caps lock later. So yeah, but here are my keys. So we're gonna go through our stabilizer mounts and mount these. So these are gonna look really, really good. So yeah, this Tactile black and white set's really, really good. So really, really like it. So let's get all my Tactile parts out, and let's figure out what the heck we're gonna use. So all right, let's get my spudger, and we're gonna insert our clips first. So before we kind of get to wires and whatnot, we're gonna do. Oh, where are my clips? Here we go. Let's do our clips right here, everybody. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna put these little clips in. These are gonna hold our wires. So again, just to kind of use some Cherry MX terminology, when you're looking, Alps pattern stabilizers are going to be plate mount. So they're not like PCB mount, like a lot of like clip-in or screw-in Cherry MX stabs. So Alps pattern stabilizers are really good. They're just kind of their own thing, but they're a little bit different. So if you're ever doing like your Alps build for the first time and you are using like Tactile original pattern keycaps, just like watch one of my VODs. They're pretty simple to kind of assemble. Again, they're essentially just the clips on the plate and the bottom of the keycap, and then the wire. So they're very, very simple, and they're very intuitive. So I really enjoy working with them. So And I've gotten pretty good at lubing my Alps stabilizers, and I can we'll walk through too also like what we want to lube on Alps stabilizers. That's really good. So again, we're gonna have a 2U key right here on the our 8K cluster, which is gonna be awesome. So this is such a cool. This is my first 8K build, and I'm so excited for this build. This is a really cool set. So these are really cool switches, and I'm really excited to get them in this one. And then I also have I have a few frog builds we're gonna take care of. So good times. There we go. Look at that. That's gonna be awesome, everybody. So, all right, let's put our backspace clips in. So we're just getting our backspace clips in. Yep, that didn't go well. Yeah, so good stuff. So we're just getting those clips in there. All right, let me see something. Let me try to get that clip in. Yeah, what's that? That one's being, there we go. That one was being a little stubborn, so get that one in. It's been a minute. Oh my gosh. Come on. Come on, everybody. There we go, friends. All right, cool. Got those ones. We're almost there, folks. So, right, you need like 4 more clips, and then we're pretty much clipped in, and we'll be ready to start lubing. So these are just really cool, really cool switches, and I'm really excited to finally be able to do this build, have my frog back. So, and I had to sacrifice my old frog for a client build, which was fine. I basically had exactly what the client wanted, and we couldn't find the exact board they wanted, so I said, I will cannibalize my board for your build. So that's what we did. So it was good. So, all right, so I want to make sure which wire we're going with. This one, we're going to go the inner one. Perfect. So we almost have all of our clips here, which is going to be awesome. Come on. There we go. Awesome. And then this one. Cool. Got those in. Perfect, everybody. Alright, cool. Put those clips away. Good with those. So let me get my wires out. So we're gonna have, so we have our 275. We need a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. So let's get a bunch of 2U wires out. So we need 4 2U wires. So I got a healthy supply of those. One more, and then we'll get our spacebar wire out, and then we'll be good. Start lubing. Okay, I got those. Let's figure out my wires really quick. And we want that short one. Perfect. All right, let me see. Perfect. I'm just kind of measuring, make sure I always forget. Perfect. That's what we want. Perfect. Awesome. Let's put my stabilizer parts away. We're kind of done with those parts for right now. So let's get those put away just so we kind of stay nice and organized. All right, cool. All right, put stab parts away. There we go. So, all right, friends, we are, oh, I did forget one part. I gotta put the clips under the switches. Oops. I'm not entirely done. Let me pull those out. Alright, there we go. I guess I only partially know what I'm doing. Like I said, I ain't no professional, everybody. I'm just a guy. So, alright, let's put these clips under here. These are what the wires are gonna interface with. So let's put those clips under. Again, all these parts we are going to be adding to a 5G0. To make sure that these stabilizers don't rattle. If you don't lube Alps stabilizers like Cherry MX, they rattle. But these stabs rattle so bad if you don't lube them. Like when I get boards to be harvested or like boards to like restore, it's so bad. Like I mean, I'll show you a board I restored. Actually, my first restoration. I mean, I have some restoration projects in the works, but like I have this one right here. This is an Apple standard keyboard M0116 with orange Alps. Oh, so good. Like, but these are lubed stabilizers. so good. Like, so good. That's such a good board. I love that board so much. Like, probably one of my favorite boards now. Like, and again, that one will be at Keep Life. So especially if you're like a Mac person or like vintage Apple, like OG Macintosh stuff, like that's a really fun board. That's a really fun and really easy board to restore, actually, which is really nice. So just putting our clips on. So we're getting there. We got a couple more clips for our space bar. And I always forget how we do this one. I think it's this way. Yeah, this way. Let me just adjust it and make sure. Give me a second. I always forget. All right. Clip it in. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. So those are all clipped in. All right, now we are done with stabilizer parts. Now we can start lubing. So let's put them in, everybody, and let's get the show going. So look at that. All right, now we're done with stab parts. So put those in there. Yeah, so hey, we got our audio fixed, so sorry about that start at the beginning, everybody. All right, here we go. So let me grab my brush. Let's grab my 205G0, and we're going to lube the actual clips on the PCB. The clips on the plate. And then we'll start installing wires. Oops, a little cover right there. Don't need that. There we go. So we're going to go in, and we are going to add lube to pretty much anywhere the wires are going to clip into. Anywhere that makes contact with the wires is what we want to lube. So that's because that's where most of our sound from our stabilizers is coming from. So awesome. So we're just going to kind of go through. And we're just kind of pushing those through. We got 6 stabilized keycaps on this one. Perfect. So, just adding 205G0. Now, another thing with Alps, you really don't want to lube these switches, at least not in the conventional way. So, if you are going to lube Alps switches as part of your restoration process, or if you get an Alps board and they're really scratchy, you want to smooth them up, do not use any type of lube you use for Cherry MX switches. You're going to ruin the switch. So, what you want to use is a dry lube. And one of the dry lubes that we've kind of come to a consensus, especially with like Careless, is going to be R057. So R057 is a dry lube. So all you want to lube is the slider. So if you're going to add lube to Alps switches, you're just going to lube the slider, and you need to let that lube thoroughly dry before you reassemble the switches. Because when Alps were actually produced back in the day, they were actually built with a earlier Alps switches, they used a dry lube. Now, the thing with Alps, they really didn't keep very good records, so we actually don't know what exact lube or what type of recipe for lubricant they actually used. That's kind of the frustrating thing with Alps for people who have just kind of done their little history on them and whatnot. We really don't know. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the really crappy part with Alps and just the company is they didn't keep very good records because back in the day, they didn't think to keep good records. They didn't think in 40 years people will care about these keyboards and these switches. They didn't think there'd be crazy people like me or other enthusiasts in this community who would like be interested in these keyboards. But they also did build them to last, which is really good. So, I mean, if you look at old Alps keyboards, especially like some of the old Apple ones, like they're built like freaking tanks. Like they were meant to last. Not like stuff that's like today or whatnot. Alright, there we go. Push that switch in, and we're just lubing make sure that wire is all nice and lubed. Perfect. Let's get our backspace wire in. So, yeah, these are really cool switches. So, it's a different time. But, yeah, these switches I have, if I were to date them, they'd probably be from around, I'd say, like, 1989. So, like, just kind of around that I'd say a safe bet would be like 1989 to maybe like 1991. These switches, they're not some of the older. Again, these Ivory Alps are kind of on the newer side of Alps switch line. They were made very late in Alps production, so like they're not going to be as old as like Green Alps or Blue Alps, for example, which are much like Amber Alps, which are much earlier. So These are a much younger switch. So if you find like Ivory Alps or like Black Alps or like White Alps, those are going to be much later in the production. So more like late 80s, early 90s. If you were to find those, I'm just adding some lube just to make sure these are all nice. There we go. Adding a little bit more lube right there. Perfect. So that's looking pretty good. So really, really nice switches. So we're just getting these wires in here. So those wires are looking good. Then we're going to add a little more lube right here. So really good switches. Yeah, these switches came out of a, what was it? An Apple keyboard. So I think it was an Apple Extended Keyboard 2. These came out of, and these were, of course, gifted for me by the UST students. So, so old Macintosh keyboard is where these came from, which is really nice. So, like, again, I love old vintage Apple stuff. I'm not really into, like, vintage computing. I'm more like the vintage keyboard stuff. It's like old Apple keyboards, old IBM keyboards, like Model M's, Model F's are really cool. Like, vintage computing, not really my thing. Because that also takes a level of, like, knowledge and, like, soldering and, like, understanding of, like, the old software that I am definitely, that goes a little bit over my head. It's definitely people who are more so, like, engineers or whatnot. Alright, just lubing all these, making sure we're good. Cool. That one, and then we'll add our 8K 2U key right here. So let me just get that one in. All right, cool. So the wires are mounted. I mean, we do the spacebar last, because the spacebar is just kind of the biggest pain in the ass. So we're gonna start attaching keys. So we'll go with our smaller shift. Perfect. Go with left shift right now. So I'm gonna add some lube around the wire portion and then the clips under the keycap. So that's what we want to do first. Cool. All right, got that portion, and then we're gonna do these clips right here, and then we'll just clip this keycap in. So adding a nice little amount of lube here, perfect. Really, really good board. So really excited to get this one built. This is a board I've been eagerly waiting for a while, and I've had the 8K TKL for a minute. I was just waiting on the plate and PCB to come in from Tom and Carolus. So let me just give me a second. This one's being a little stubborn. Cool, got that one in. Perfect. Cool. Oh, that's great. That feels really nice. Perfect. Perfect. All right, let's put my backspace in. So let's lube up this wire right here. Cool, that wire is good. Let's do our clips right here. All right. Cool. All right, let's put this one in. Ah, sounds great. So, cool. All right, backspace is in. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. All right, we're gonna do our 8K right here right now. So as you can see, we're going with the 0. So this is actually gonna be a number pad, which is gonna be really cool. So really, really different. And again, it'll look really cool now, kind of out the program, the 8K, once we get it. Once we get all those keys on and whatnot. Cool. Got that. Awesome. All right, cool. So we'll put this 0 on really quick. All right, oop. There we go. All right, let me get a rag really quick. Just get lube on my fingers. I don't want to get it all over the keycaps. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right, we're gonna do our left shift, and then we'll do big ass enter last, and then space bar, and then I think we're good to start soldering, which is kind of like the big chunk of time. So yeah, but this soldering should be relatively painless today. Again, I know these switches work. I've had them in a board, and I thoroughly tested these when they were in my old Frog before I had to cannibalize it for a client build. So we should be pretty good. So okay, let me just get a little more lube right there. All right, let me just lube that wire really quick. And then we'll be good for this one. All right. Perfect. That one's good. All right, perfect. Let's wipe that off. Now we're gonna do our big ass enter. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, let's lube these wires. Cool. So lubing these clips on the big ass enter, and then we'll move on to the space bar, and then we'll be pretty much, we will be done with our stabilized caps. So it's always an interesting one to do. Might have to take off the clips here. Yeah. Give me a second, friends. All right. We're going to have to do something different on this one, so give me a second. We're going to have to get creative. Give me a second. I had to take the clip out. So, I mean, that's what happens when we do stuff live on stream. Get to see me struggle and work through things live. There we go. Let me just add a little bit of lube right there. All right. I just got it. Give me a second, friends. Cool. All right, we're going to clip these in. Cool. All right, now we're going to clip. Add some lube here. Give me a second, friends. This is going to be very finicky. Give me a second, friends. I got to get the right angle for this one. There we go. Oh, Lord. That was a pain in the ass. Oh, I'm totally getting the F-165. Hell yeah, dude. Why not? I mean, I wasn't expecting to do... I kind of said I was called 65% it out. But let me put it this way. I got to rephrase it. If the pricing is right for the Geon F-165, if Geon isn't stupid with his pricing, like the Glare 65, like it has to be less than like... It has to be like a Frog TKL price, like 200 to $250. Like it has to be basically sub $300. If it is sub $300, that's an instant buy. But if it's like $500 freaking dollars, like if it costs as much as an F18X, I'm like, hell no, that's ridiculous. I'm like, you're better off go. I mean, if you're gonna go that much with a board like a 65, go buy a Manta. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't spend $400+ in a 65%. I have, but like, I just think for Geon for it to make sense within Geon's lineup. It needs to, for it being an F1, it needs to be less than an F18X. Like an F18X starts at like what, $350, $400 depending on how you part it out. So it needs to be less than $300. So if the pricing is right, I'm definitely getting an F1. But I also said that with the Glare 60, and then we saw the price, and I'm like, we all said hell no. So it just depends. If Geon has good pricing, it'll be an instant buy. So it just depends on how Geon prices it. Just making sure everything is all put together. Sorry, I'm just making sure. Give me a second. We just want to wipe off that. So I think the F-165, if my gut feeling is correct, I'd say earliest would be Q4 2025 or Q1 of 26. Because Geon has prototypes, which is pretty quick. So I'd say we're probably 5 or 6 months out from that launch. I mean, Geon has his prototypes. I don't know how ready he is for production. But I would say probably, I'd say within the next 6 months. Realistically is what Geon would probably want to aim for. Let me just relube these right here. So we got that big ass center was more of a pain in the ass than I thought it would be. But we got it. That's another thing, too, I tell people with Alps keycaps. Once you get the Alps stabilizers lubed and you get them installed, I recommend, if you're going to do cleaning, when you clean the board, take all the other keycaps off, leave the stabilized keycaps on. Just Alps stabilizers are just kind of a pain in the ass. As you kind of saw with that big-ass enter. So, we're good, but look at that bay. Perfect. All right, let's do my space bar, and then we're done lubing. Again, this is the part that's kind of tedious for the build, and I mean, God, we've been on here for an hour? Good Lord. I mean, hopefully the soldering is a lot quicker. I hope I don't have to troubleshoot as much. But I have a metric shitload of switch plates we have, so we're going to get this build built. So, yeah, so I mean, F1, I mean, also, too, I know Geon's doing this group buy on the F140 722, and I'm very happy I got the one that I got, because the main group buy, one of my friends told me, it's like, they're only doing HHKB or WinKey. So I wanted WinKeyless, and in the drop that Geon did, like, a few weeks ago, he had about 100 units, and he had WinKeyless versions of it, which it's kind of stupid. It makes a useless board even more useless, but I like the look of WinKeyless, and I'm kind of glad I have my F140 722, because the main production run of that board isn't going to be WinKeyless. There's only a handful of F140 722s that are like WinKeyless, which is kind of cool. So it just makes my board a little just kind of cooler to me, that that specific like SKU with WinKeyless is so limited. So that's kind of cool. Because I know for the two drops, Geon did 2 drops for the F140 722 before the main production group buy. He essentially did one for Korea only, which was about 100 units, and then 100 units for international, like 100 units for the international. So I got the international buy for it, which was really cool. So there we go. We got that clipped in. Let me just add some lube to the bottom of this wire, And then we're going to do the delicate act of putting on an Alps spacebar, which hopefully is a little less of a pain in the ass than that big ass enter. Okay. Let's see. All right, cool. Give me a second. Cool. All right, let's get this puppy lined up. Okay, let's get these clips in. Cool. Got it, man. Oh, shift. Don't come out, please. Thank you. Cool. All right, so I'll make sure that's seated properly. There we go. All right, I think we're done lubing. Let me just wipe off a little bit of lube down here. Get the spacebar kind of wiped off. Other keys. Cool. All right, we are done with lube, which is nice. So put the 205G0 away, and let me just kind of get properly seated up again. So, cool. All right, friends, here we go. So, there are our stabilized keycaps. So, they're on there. Let me just kind of push this into the foam and just do a little bit of tests on these. Okay, I want to add a little bit more lube. That spacebar is being a little tough. Give me a second. All right, let's... Yeah, I'm just tuning the stabilizer. There we go. All right, we got it. Perfect. All right, stabilizer's good. So, there we go, friends. Let's get that cleaned up. Cool. All right, so we are good to go. So let's get that PCB and let's get things fired up. So really sick PCB. Let's get these mounted and then we'll start putting in the main line of switches. All right, let's just make sure everything's lining up. Yep, everything looks good. So let's get that going. All right, let's fire up my soldering iron. Let's get temperature dialed in. Perfect. All right, let's get my soldering wick going. Let's wait for that to get heated up. Let's also get my little vent here, and then we'll get going. So... all right, let's just wipe my soldering tip off really quick. Hold up. There we go. All right, let's get this puppy going. All right, let's see. Let's get those in. Making sure that these are properly seated. Cool. All right, those are Oh, personal build for sure. This is personal build, so this is one of them for me. So yeah, personal build. So let me just get these properly seated. Yeah, I just want to get these soldered in. Perfect. And this one. Perfect. All right. Awesome. So we got those stabilized keys mounted and properly seated. So that's good. So here we go. Spacebar looks good. That looks good. Awesome. That looks really good. So let me just do a little test, because even though I know these switches are good, I just want to make sure. And again, I have plenty of switch plates for today that I kind of harvested. So let's just open up my vial and also via. I want to get this PCB programmed correctly. Okay, PCB is good. Pops up in vial. So we're just going to program this one correctly really quick. I want to get this PCB corrected because that's what we got to get going. Okay, layout. All right, there we go. Got that. All right, we're gonna do some programming really quick. We got to program this. I got to program my 8K cluster really quick. Oh. So give me a second. All right, give me a second. All right, we're just programming everything. Give me a second, friends. Just making sure that everything is looking good. All right, we're gonna go with slash and then minus. And then we're gonna go print screen, scroll lock, and then num lock. Perfect. All right, got our board programmed. So I want to go to my matrix tester really quick and just check everything. Perfect. All right, we're good. All right, switches look good. So let's just install my caps lock now, because I know my caps lock is always kind of weird. So, give me a second, I gotta get something off this. There we go. All right. Okay, gotta go over here. Give me a second. All right, let me just make sure that caps lock lines up properly. Give me a second. Huh. Okay, I have to go with my other caps lock. Give me a second, friends. Let me grab my other caps lock key. There's different spacings for the caps lock, so I need to try my other one. There we go, that's the one we want. All right, cool. Awesome. So we're going stepped caps. Look at that. Going stepped caps on this one. So there we go. So it's starting to come along. Let's do put our bottom row ones in. Let's put like our tilde. Let's put our tab in. Let's put our escape in. And then we're also going to put our control and alts in here. Again, we're going win keyless, so we're not doing any Windows keys on this particular board. There you go. And then we're going to fill in the 8K cluster as well. So you're going to kind of see this 8K cluster, what makes this so cool and so different. So filling them in. Look at that, folks. So we're going to fill in this whole cluster. So we're going to have no real arrow keys on here. I mean, we can put arrow keys with layers, but we turn like numlock off and whatnot. But, oh yeah, we got to flip these upside down. But isn't that cool? Look at that 8K. So that is an 8K layout. That is so cool. So cool. All right, let's put the switches to the side. Let's get my soldering wick out, and then let's solder these ones. Let's put my vent in here. So my 8K, so this essentially what this is going to be. This is going to be a numpad. So I'll kind of let me pull out my full size. All right, I got my Linworks Dolphin. So essentially, kind of let me put the Dolphin on top and let me kind of show you. So essentially, we're gonna have like our standard like TKL cluster right here. Like again, everything like our main home like our main like alphas and F row. But we're gonna basically make this the home cluster and arrows a number pad. So essentially, this like what my 8K cluster is essentially going to be this little area right here. So that's what's gonna be cool. So we're gonna have our number pad right here. Actually, fuck it. I'm just gonna put the keys on and show you. So, give me a second. Let me just put the keys on, and I'll show you all how I want to configure my 8K cluster. So let's just, before we solder, I normally don't do this, but let's put the numbers on, and I'll show you guys how it's going to be configured. So let me just get the 8K on here, and you're going to kind of see it's very different, very unique, and I like this keycap set because it'll show you how I can layer it too, which is really nice. So okay, so print screen. All right, I'm going to put my stuff away right there and kind of show you how it's set up. So let me get that Linworks board back just so I have a full size for example. So there's my full size, and this is how my 8K is going to be configured. So we're basically going to have our numpad with like the final like enter and air, like the plus and the enter button cut off. So I had to shift over my dash, my minus, over one. So because num block, instead of kind of being here, it's going to go up here. So it's really cool. So 8Ks are really cool. You can also do an 8K. Like I have plate files where you can do an 8K where you don't have the 2U. But when I was talking with Careless about doing an 8K build, I explicitly told Careless, hey, that I want my 8K cluster to be a numpad, not a navigation cluster. And what's cool with this, I can layer in my home cluster. So again, I got home, I got page up, I got page down, I got end. I can program in, I have delete right here. So when I just press unlock, I have my home cluster, I have my arrow keys and everything. So it still works just like your standard numpad. So like my numlock is going to work like standard numlock. When it's on, I use my numbers. When I press numlock off, I can then use the arrows and I can then use everything else in there. So that's really cool. So it's a it'll be a very unique looking. And also a thing that's kind of cool. In Careless's Discord, we have a guy named Alec Tardy. He actually helped Careless design this PCB. He took a key colt number 2 TKL and he cut off this portion right here on his TKL, and he made an 8K. So you can do it with a Dremel. I don't recommend it, because especially if it's like an expensive board like a key colt, and he did it with an OG key colt, not like a Novel Keys key colt. So I'm like, oh, it's your board, man, your money. So I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take a Dremel to a board like that. But yeah, you can definitely just cut off like the separation blocker between the arrows and the home cluster, and you can make your own 8K if the PCB supports it. So that's pretty cool. So, but that's basically what it's going to look like. So we're going to solder in the keycaps, but that's basically what an 8K is. So we basically have your main TKL cluster, and then you have your 8K. And again, I am not losing my arrows. I'm not losing my home cluster. It's all layered, and I had the layers. The arrows are in the sub-legends, and my home cluster is in my sub-legends. And I still get my print screen, my scroll lock, and then my number lock has been moved up here. So really, really cool. Oh yeah, and I have to re-anno everything, so that crap gets really freaking expensive. So I'm not doing. And I do Cerakote because anodization in the United States sucks, and Cerakote's expensive. So I mean, a Cerakote board, I'm looking like $200 to $300, which I don't want to do. So I only really Cerakote really special boards, and this board I like the coating as it is, so I wasn't gonna cut it. So there we go. So let's get this thing. Let's get these switches soldered in really quick, and then let's do it, and then we'll test them, and then we'll kind of keep going. And then we'll do the FRO and the numbers and alphas, and we should be good to go. So this should be a pretty quick one. So let's get these soldered in. All right. Just making sure everything is seated correctly. This one really quick. Give me a second. That is seated properly. Perfect. Just making sure. Yeah, so this is a really cool board. So I'm really excited to have this board. It's it'll be probably my most unique TKL. I mean, it's unique. It'll be different because it has Alps, but it's just different because it's an 8K. And even if you wanted to build this Cherry MX with 8K, you have to get a specific PCB that supports the 8K, because not all H87 or H88 PCBs support this. You really want to make so if you're going to build like a Cherry MX 8K TKL, you definitely want to make sure that you're getting a PCB that actually supports it. So it's not 8K is not just an Alps thing. Cherry MX back in the day, you can find some retro Cherry boards that actually have the 8K layout. But if you're going to do like a modern board with an 8K layout, you've got to definitely make sure that the PCB and plate you're using supports it. Perfect. That one's good. That side's good. So let's do my control and alts here. Perfect. How long am I being on here? Perfect. Alright, that one is looking good. Yeah, this should be pretty good. Awesome. Looking good so far. Nice. All right. And we're going to check these puppies right here. So those are kind of done. And let's do our 8K cluster. So let's get our 8K switches soldered in. So, and again, with these 8K layouts, you can absolutely do it on Cherry MX. I don't ever think I've ever seen a hot swap H87 or H88 PCB that supports 8K for Cherry MX. So I think if you're definitely going to try and do this or find an 8K board, like a modern board that supports this layout, like definitely you're probably going to have to go solder even on Cherry MX. But it's a really cool layout. I mean, even if someone doesn't want to do Alps, like get an 8K. It's awesome. Like, it's really cool. Like, the Frog is probably your most affordable. It's not in stock at Geon at the moment. The 8K Frogs are currently out of stock. I don't know if Geon's going to restock them because it is very obscure. Because I think a lot of people who want a TKL, they want a TKL. Oh, it's definitely unique. It's definitely unique, the layout. And I just wanted one to have it, and I knew if I was going to do an 8K, it has to be Alps. Because this is a very, like, OG, like, retro type of layout for a TKL. So it's very different. So, I mean, I'll probably get a lot of questions at Keep Life. Like, people are going to say, what the heck is that thing? I'm like, it's an 8K, and you got to have one. So, and also Naveed on stream, these are actually the switches that I put in your board. So I really like these. So these are a switch I really like. So good times. There we go, friends. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just doing the perimeter right now just to make sure everything is properly seated. And then we'll kind of do these interior ones. Let's get the rest of this solder out. Yeah, so they're good switches. So let's do the... Let's just make sure this cluster up here is seated properly. All right. Cool. Good and tight. Almost there. Alright, looking good. We're almost there, folks. Just getting some of these perimeter ones done. Perfect. Alright. Looking good. Got 4 more in the 8K cluster, and then we'll be good for this kind of weird part of the TKL. Few more. Almost there. Good times. All right, I think that's everyone. So let's turn my vent off. Let's get my just solder tip cleaned off really quick. Perfect. All right, let's put that to the side. So we have our 8K cluster, gonna have our modifiers done, and we have our bottom row. So yeah, there we go. So there's our 8K cluster. So oh yeah, I went all in on Alps, dude. All in. So I'm very close to having almost every single switch type of aboard with every single Alps type, except for neon greens, because I'm not paying $2,000 to $3,000 for an effing switch set. So I will do every single Alps type except neon greens, because like I said, $2,000 to $3,000 for a set of switches. It's not keycaps. That's not all the other parts. It's not the actual keyboard. So, oh, I have a bot in my chat, everybody. Yeah, I might get lucky one day, but the thing is, like, neon greens are so well known. Like the ones that have been, the people who had those, who didn't know what they had, those have all been pretty much bought up. Like, unfortunately, like neon green. I mean, I would have to it'd be like winning the lottery, getting struck by lightning if I found one at like Goodwill or somewhere, like a garage sale. But yeah, so let's plug this in, test these switches. Again, I know these switches should all be good because they were in my previous my previous frog that I had in my collection. So let's get Vial open up and let's go to my matrix tester really quick. And I just want to test all my switches. Escape looks good. Tilde. Tab is good. Caps lock's good. Shift, control. Yeah. Yeah, I know these switches are good. I'm just going to double check. All right. All right. Give me a second. Right, everything looks good in Vial. I'm going to go into VIA really quick. I like VIA's switch tester because it's really, really responsive. So I double check it in both, and I check this board like a good 20 times before it's together. Even though this is my personal build, I still want to make sure it's all good. Alright, I'm just testing the 8K cluster. Yeah. Alright. Everything in the 8K cluster is good. Oh, I gotta fix something. I gotta go back to Vial. I have something that's not programmed correctly. I want that to be backspace. Perfect. Let's go back to there. That's not good. Alright, let's try that again. Right shift wasn't programmed. Right shift is good. Right control. Cool. All right. So let me just. Perfect. All right, we're good. Switches are good here so far. So let's put in our F row. And then we're going to do basically our numbers and our alphas. So, all right. So let's put these in. So we're going to do our F row really quick. Get those soldered in. And then we'll do our main alpha and number cluster. And then we'll be pretty much done with the main build, which is nice. So yeah, definitely a unique build. Like, it's one of the more unique builds. Hello, sir. Welcome, welcome. I mean, I try, but yeah. So, Spindly Bonfire, I guess I have a bot in here. He says, ooh, I can get cheap viewers on streamboo.com. I'm like, I said this in my last chat when a bot came into my chat. I've been in the keyboard hobby for almost 2 years. I only recently started doing like the streaming, like actively posting on social media stuff about like the boards and stuff I do in the keyboard hobby. I'm not doing this I'm never going to claim I'm a content creator. I'm never going to claim I'm a professional. Like, if you want to find a professional, go watch the bigger people in the hobby. Go watch someone like Teja or Frank or Keyboard or Andrew Wynn. Like, I'm just a guy. I'm here to have fun. I just like sharing the stuff I'm doing with people who are interested in watching. So like, and also I want to build a audience legitimately. And again, I've only been streaming for like a month and a half, so it's like, I'm doing this for fun. I'm not doing this to make money. Commissions, absolutely I'm making money, but like personal builds and just streaming the builds and teaching people how to do this stuff, like I'm doing it because it's fun, man. I'm not doing it to make money. So there we go. So I'll put our F rows right there. So let's solder that F row in, and once that in, pretty much everything's kind of held in, and we'll just do our main number and alpha cluster. So let's get those going. So just make sure those are all firmly seated in there. Perfect. All right, let's get that solder wick. Let's get my vent plugged in, and then we'll go from there. Let's get that vent going. All right. Let's get this one going. All right. That one's good. That one's good. Now the F rows are always kind of finicky, so looking good. Awesome, awesome. Looking good. All right. F-rows coming along. Cool. That one's coming good. Awesome. Awesome. Halfway down with the F-row, folks, so it's coming along. Alright, almost there. Got like 5 more of the F-row. Coming along. Cool. Almost there. Alright, 2 more F-rows, and then it's going to look pretty good, friends. All right. Put that to the side. All right, we got our F-row in there. Pretty good. Awesome. So There we go, friends. We have an Afro. Look at that. It's starting to look like a keyboard. So. Alright, let's plug that in. Just test my Afro really quick. Alright, we're good. Alright, like I said, I'm just double going OCD on these. Alright, let's put the rest of these in, and we'll do the rest of our cluster. So it's going to be pretty good. Alright, just going to... So we're putting the rest of our cluster in, and then we'll do the bulk of the soldering. Okay. These switches were in a board, a Frog build that I had in my personal collection previously, so I know these switches work. And they've been pretty rigorously stress tested. So that's pretty good for my part, for my sanity. Because half the battle with Alps builds is figuring out the switches work still, even after restoration. So... yeah, and if not, we have a metric crap load of switches, so we're good for this build. So, put these bottom ones in. All right, so that one. Give me a second, gotta fix this one. Okay, gotta put two more in there. Alright, cool. Alright, I'm gonna put those in. But look at that. Beautiful, beautiful cluster. Alright, let's do the main assembly of everything, and then we'll be good to go. Let me also get my other solder wick opened. So let's just get this open, because we are going to switch over to this one. Yeah, relatively easy build today. Again, it's just because I've already used these switches previously. All right, let's just use the rest of this little wick. Let's get my vent going. All right. Alright, we're going to make pretty quick work of this portion right here. second. Let me just toss this one. All right. Cool. Looking good. All right. Let's move up to this row right here. We're just making our way through the alpha and the number cluster. Cool. Making our way through. Cool. Almost done with this row, and then we got 2 more rows, and then we'll test them. I think we should be good to start putting this back in the case and doing reassembly. Alright, almost there. Alright, thanks Naveed. We will, again, VOD will be up on YouTube later tonight, my man. Alright, friends. Almost there. Alright. Cool. Getting close, everybody. Almost to that final row. Getting there, everybody. Let's put that one in. Alright, almost there. I got one more row, folks. have like 5 more switches. All right. All right, let's see what we got. All right, so I think that's everything soldered. Perfect. Let's flip it around. There we go. All right, friends. Let that refocus. There we go. All right, friends, let's plug this in. Let's test these switches, and then we'll get on the home stretch. Look at that. That's looking like a keyboard. So, okay, give me a minute. I gotta some stuff's not programmed right. Okay, give me a second. There we go. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's a nice build. Ivories are a really good Alps switch. Probably one of my favorites. I don't think they deserve the hate they get. I'm doing a client build in a couple of weeks with Ivories. The guy wanted a really kind of deep, really thocky sound, which I told him, like, can't really get thock out of Alps, unfortunately. Yeah, they're slept on heavily. I have a metric shitload of them. I have probably a few hundred of them, so I'm sitting on a nice stockpile of these little buggers. So every switch works. I'm just gonna double check my other switches I've installed. Left shift, caps lock, tab. Let's go up here. Perfect. All right, we're good. Every switch works. So, all right, we're gonna install this in the case, and then we're gonna put keycaps on. We're gonna get ready to get out of here. This board is good to go. So there you go. Look at that. That is a keyboard. So let me get my let's get my top case too. I'll grab that in a second. Let's put these little tadpoles on here. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're really good switches. And I mean, I also am a fan of Topre, high-end Topre. I have some high-end Topre builds that are kind of waiting for Dynacap to come in. So I'll get to try Dynacap at Keyblythe. Clever and the Omni type guys are going to be at Keyblythe. So I definitely going to, I have a Show 60 V3 and then a Han H2H waiting for Dynacap. So I'm really excited to get those. I want them with GMK. I know some people say, like some of the Topre purists will say, oh, you shouldn't put cherry keycaps on Topre, but I know with the whole point of Dynacap was to put GMK on Topre. So, and I have my MM Studio Class 80 with GMK 9009, and it sounds perfectly fine to me. So, again, everything is personal preference. So, but I also have like a factory HHKB, which is freaking awesome. So, okay, let's put the other tadpoles on there. All right, we're almost there, friends. I love my GMK. It's the best. I'm a GMK snob. I have like 40-something GMK sets in my damn collection. So I am very financial. I am a little too financially deep into GMK. So yeah, you can do the math and how much that is. That's a it's a lot, and I don't want to think about it. So all right, cool. Got the tadpoles. Let's put this in our top case. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and also like I like cherry profile, like because I've tried SA and I really don't like the SA profile. They don't work for me. So, but I know some people really like that tall keycap profile. So we're just gonna clamp this together. Perfect. And let's get a couple of the screws holding this chassis together. Perfect. There's those. Almost there. Perfect, yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Almost there, friends. All right. Let's put the feetsies on, and we'll put our keycaps on. We'll do a typing test, and we'll get out of here. We'll probably be out of here in the next, like, I'd say, like 5 minutes, friends. So, pretty good. Let's make sure that Design by Geon Works is right there. All right. So, there's our 8K. So let's get our Tactile caps. We just need to do our main cluster right here, and then we'll be good. So let's just put our main cluster on here. All right. Starting to look like. Give me a second. I don't know if that one came on right. Perfect. Oh yeah, these Tactile caps are sick, by the way. Tactile was an original manufacturer of keycaps back in the day for Alps, and they've been around since the 60s. So they're based out of Taiwan. They have a very long history, very good reputation within just electronics, consumer electronics, and computing. And they still make a ton of stuff. So I mean, they still make modern production keycaps and whatnot. So. Yeah, so and their Alps keycap sets are like $50. So they're the most affordable, and these are double shot PBT. So these are very high quality PBT. These are not like your cheap garbage from China. Like these are really good keycaps. So I've done a lot of client builds, and I have a couple of my personal builds that utilize these keycaps. So these are excellent keycaps. So, and some of the OG keycaps for Alps boards, like some of the most sought after ones were made by Tactile. They were the OEM. So let me just get my 1.5 control and alts from the bottom, from the box, and then we'll be good for a sound test and to get out of here, friends. Let me get my controls, and then here we go. Look at that. That is badass. Let me just roll up my solder really quick. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, Tactile makes good stuff. So that's an 8K. Look at that. That's super sick. So let's just do a little sound test, and we're going to get on out of here, friends. So let me just do a sound test for these really good switches. Alright friends, I'm going to put my microphone back up. But yeah, everybody, there we go. So that is an 8K Geon Works Frog TKL with Ivory Alps. So thank you so much for everybody for tuning into the stream. This will be uploaded via the VOD onto my YouTube channel later this evening. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great evening. We'll be on stream again tomorrow doing a 60% Frog Mini Ligera with Apple keycaps tomorrow at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, everybody. So I'd love for you to join. Thank you, everybody.